Hey everybody, I'm back. Let's share the diet update today. Today, I was 150.6 pounds, which basically means I didn't really move the needle, but I also didn't really gain much either. In fact, I think I stayed pretty much the same from yesterday. I haven't rewatched the last video from yesterday to confirm that information, but I'm pretty sure I said like 150 point something. Well, on the bright side, I didn't get fat, but on the downside, I didn't lose any weight. We're going to change that though. So, alright, what was eaten today? Well, in the morning, I made myself breakfast, and this included 2 scrambled eggs with a lot of grass-fed butter, 3 slices of bacon, and a bit of Mexican cheese sprinkled in a low-carb tortilla, which I heated and using fire. Yeah, and a cup of coffee. Later on, I ended up having a keto-friendly peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This one included regular peanut butter, but only 1 tablespoon of it, 1 tablespoon of the keto-friendly allulose sweetened jelly from the company My Normal, which I found out by reading the back of the box was actually a company that derives from South Korea. Huh, who'da thunk? Then I used the keto-friendly bread. Later on, I got pretty hungry, so I had 2 microwaved hot dogs on 2 keto breads that had some mayonnaise spread on and some mustard put on. That's what I had then, with a bit of sprinkling of chili powder. And the last major meal, oh yeah, and I also had a cup of coffee to go with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich with 2 espresso shots. Now, the last thing that I ate today was a cut of beef roast that was grilled on our outside grill using propane. It was a medium rare, but leaning more towards rare than medium rare. I still liked it though. I tried to be safer with it because it was a 1/2 inch instead of a full inch, so I cooked it on 3 minutes per side at 450 to 500 degrees in the grill. Also had green peas and a can of A&W Zero Sugar root beer, provided to me by my sister. Now, the last things that I had today was a Celsius Tropical Vibes beverage that was sweetened by star fruit, which reminded me of Kingdom Hearts, by the way. I was like, oh, that reminds me of Kingdom Hearts. Very nostalgic. And the other thing that it was sweetened by was pineapple extract. It was very good. I really much enjoyed it, for sure. And then I had a sparkling ice that was apple and cinnamon flavored. I did a funny little experiment at the end of the day where I put some of the sparkling apple cider. Oh, it wasn't vinegar, sorry. It was just apple cider and cinnamon. Did I say vinegar? I think I did. It was just apple cider and cinnamon flavored sparkling ice. But I poured some of it in a cup and I put it in the microwave for about a minute. And I tried it, and to be honest, it wasn't that bad actually. It tasted like hot apple cider, but like, the healthy one without any sugar. It was pretty interesting, not gonna lie. Then, the last thing I had was a cup of water with my vitamins. And that's pretty much everything eaten today. What exercise was done? Well, whole lot of walking, whole lot of slight jogging at work to get from place to place, or to return items or bring items forward, and a few jumping jacks, some walking around the front and back of the house, but honestly, nothing really rigorous at all. Sorry. Which kind of bumps me out because when I was punching out at the end of the day, I told one of my coworkers I was planning on doing a half-hour jog when I was after drinking the Tropical Vibes beverage, the Celsius. But when I arrived home and I was watching a YouTube video about overstress, overthinking, I got caught into that video, and then afterwards I got a bit into snuggling our cat and transferring some photos and videos from my phone from an SSD to my phone, and I only did a few jumping jacks, and yeah, I know, not the most exciting. I need to be a man of my word, gosh dang it, when it comes to that stuff. I was setting up a good example, and then I didn't fulfill it. Such a shame. Well, anyways, that's pretty much the diet update. Alright, let's see if we drop any pounds tomorrow, or if we stay the same, or if we grow. Only one way to find out. Now that we're done with that, let's move on to the daily update. So, this morning, I woke up at around 9 o'clock. When I got up in the morning, I was greeted by my mom, who asked if I could clean the pool filter and put it back in the pool, turn on the pool vacuum, vacuum the floor of our family friend because they had their bandages changed for their foot and some of the skin got all over the carpet in their room, and I was asked if I could vacuum that carpet in the room. And then take out the trash because it was full in the kitchen. And also when I was cooking food for breakfast to wash all of the dishes that I used and put them away. So I agreed to do all of that. And she also thanked me for mowing the lawn yesterday. Then I decided to make my breakfast, the egg, bacon, and Mexican cheese burrito. I remember my mom had some Mexican cheese out that she used for a dish she made, and I asked if it'd be alright if I could use the Mexican cheese, and she said, of course. So I used that. It was very good. I really liked it. It really added a nice texture to the food. And after I got it ready, the burrito, I made a cup of coffee. And I decided to go into my room and I watched a YouTube video from the YouTube channel Red Letter Media called What Are Next 2025. This YouTube video was about the crew from Red Letter Media, basically making fun of the fact that our movies have become overly commercialized and cynical to the point where parody has essentially become reality, and we can't even tell what's real and what isn't anymore, and what's a joke and what's an actual thing being produced. We're in the age of content, basically, is what the video is demonstrating, where executives are so desperate to get people to watch their stuff, they'll take any recognizable IP, no matter what it is, and make it into a TV show or a movie or streaming service or whatever. and it's just to fill more content on their streaming service, or to squeeze out what they believe is any last morsel of financial incentive from the theater going experience. I like going to the movie theaters. I mean, don't get me wrong. There just hasn't been that many interesting movies that has been released in the theater that like has captured my attention at least. And I mean, it goes to show like that recent reports say that AMC lost millions of dollars throughout the last quarter from like the lack of any films that captured audiences' attention. I just think it is a culmination of different factors. You know, a lot of people say people don't have a reason to go to the theater anymore. They can just sit on their butt and be entertained by the TV all day. But I don't know. I feel like when it comes to something like that, there's lots of factors. Like, it has to be something that everyone actually wants to see. It has to be made by someone who's a visionary, who clearly knows what they're doing, and is able to make something that's visually inviting. Being animated definitely helps, for sure. Um, I guess now if like it's part of a well-known franchise that already has millions of fans, it helps even more to make it a safe bet. Like Moana 2, which was originally going to be a Disney Plus series that was simply going to be dumped on the streaming service. Um, it was reconfigured into a movie released in theaters, parading itself as an official film, even though it was just a collection of episodes that were stitched together. And because Moana 1's one of the most successful films Disney has ever made, that's been watched billions of times on the service, the second one did well, even though it was just a cheaply made TV show with a bunch of episodes loosely strung together. So it pretty much just goes to show, as long as you made an animated film that people really liked, you could pretty much suck all that good audience goodwill for all it's worth, and parents won't care because it's the famous thing they know on it, and you can pretty much count on the fact that it's the famous thing that they know and their kids know, that as long as you make something that vaguely looks like, you know, a good movie, people won't will say I can't tell the difference, and they'll just accept it for just being like, you know, something that exists to watch. That's why it did so well. It was just relying on audience's goodwill of like pre-existing content, and the same thing's happening with Zootopia 2. The only thing that makes Zootopia 2 different from Moana 2 is the fact that Zootopia 2 was designed to be an actual movie from the get-go. So I'm sure, like, I mean, it's probably going to be better based on that. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, this is just a bunch of like cheaply made streaming episodes that were loosely strung together. No, it's an actual movie with a beginning, middle, and end that feels cohesive and like it actually had lots of thought and care put into it. Yeah, so anyways, that's a really long rant. I don't know why I got so into that. I mean, I guess when it comes to like the theater going experience, I just get kind of passionate about that. I mean, it's weird for me to get passionate about it because I've kind of neglected the theater going experience. Not to say like I've abandoned it completely, but like, I mean, I remember the last movie I saw in the theater was with my sister, on her birthday, which wasn't even that long ago. It was like about, I think, 2 weeks ago, or three maybe. It was Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. And the one thing that stood out to me about going to see that movie in the theater was that the theater we went to, last time I went, I remember they had these big posters on the sides of the movie theater that looked really colorful and full of life and excitement. And like it showed these artistic like drawings of like cool like scenes that are theatrical looking like experiences that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see that. But then when we went to see the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie at the theater that we'd been to like a while back to see other films, like Green Book, for example, this movie theater, those signs that looked so bold and exciting, like, and I could have sworn like, oh, it wasn't even that long ago. Like last time was back in like 2021 or whatever. And I go into this theater, and those big posters, they look so faded. They look like an apocalypse happened, and they were every like hundreds of years of like sun had eaten like all of the ink off of these posters. And so now it looks like a decrepit abandoned theater, which is bizarre to me because it's like, how could that even happen in such a short space of time? Like and then I remember my mom said, "Oh, we're seeing a old world dying before our very eyes." And I mean, based on what visuals I was seeing, I would tend to agree. I mean, I don't want to say like, "Oh, theaters are gonna die," but like, I mean, stuff like Zootopia 2 is proof that people will still go to the theater if it's like something that they're excited to see, you know? Like, because apparently Zootopia 2 did historic numbers. Like, I think it made 500 million worldwide in its opening weekend, which is insane for an animated film. It just goes to show that you just need, like, something people actually care about to want to, get out of their houses to watch. Um, Oppenheimer was another good example. Like, oh, this looks like a real movie about a real event that was extremely interesting. Let's see it. And Zootopia 2, it's a sequel to a film that a lot of people really like, and kids have seen bazillions of times, so they want to see what happens next with their favorite characters, Judy Hopps and that Fox guy that I don't remember the name of. Yeah. Man, I've gone on long enough about this. Let's move on. So anyways, after watching the What Are Next 2025, I remember I decided I wanted to see what other videos I had missed out on from Red Letter Media, because it's a YouTube channel that I used to frequent all the time, but the reason why I haven't really frequented as of late, it pretty much just comes down to the fact that usually when I watch a long form Red Letter Media video, they're a YouTube channel that basically just talks about really bad movies that like suck. But normally when I watch their videos, I always eat something that's like, naughty, like pizza or burger and fries. Like, it just kind of fits the vibe of that YouTube channel. It really makes it feel like I'm there with the hosts, like, because for whatever reason, when I'm in watching their videos, I just imagine their studio would smell something like fresh pizza or burgers. It like gives a 4-dimensional feel to the YouTube watching experience. But because I'm on the keto diet, I can't consume those things. So it takes half the appeal of watching their videos out of the equation. So when I watch them, I just isn't the same. I mean, like, I still think their jokes are funny. I still think they're entertaining to watch, but because I don't have that, like, eat while watching, like, thing going, it takes away a lot of the appeal of watching their videos, so I end up just kind of, tuning out a little bit, and I don't fully get into it. That's why, like, when I'm, like, eventually off keto, and, like, every now and then, when I can indulge maybe eat like a cheeseburger with fries and a beverage, I definitely would tune back into their channel and watch some of their videos they posted. They've posted quite a lot. But one of the videos that they posted was a video that was a spotlight episode on one of the worst movies that one of the hosts of the episode said they've ever seen. It was like a big guy with a beard. Honestly, I forgot the name of the movie. But all I can tell you is like it was like a movie that was made in the early 90s. It was intended to be a horror comedy, but then after it was finished, it was like abandoned until it was later picked up by a distribution company in like the early 2000s, the early 2000s, and they decided to take the film, but they thought, ooh, this isn't scary. Like, we think scary movies would make more than horror comedy movies. So they took the original footage and they tried to recut it and manipulate it to be more of a like uh, real horror movie. But the problem was, for whatever reason, throughout the footage, it goes from like being like, oh, this is kind of clear VHS footage to this is like 11 generation worn thin VHS footage where it looks extremely fuzzy and blurry and it's hard to see anything. And then like there's like the audio is really bad. You can barely hear what any of the characters are talking about. And the visuals are just extremely like dark sometimes and hard to see what's even going on. And so it just ultimately ends up being very annoyingly like amateur experience overall, which honestly is a real shame. But I mean, I guess some people just aren't really cut out to make films because they can't really see their work through an objective lens. Like if I was making a movie and I was trying to make it like good, I would really pay attention to every step of the process to make sure that like what I'm doing is something I would be proud of putting out there. But because like I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's just yeah, it's a real shame. It's a real shame indeed. It looked really bad. But it was kind of fun to see them make fun of it. But overall, my mind was starting to drift by the end, where it was like, okay, I kind of get it. I'm getting pretty bored of this. I want to move on. So I was like going on my phone, and I wanted to open my email. I don't exactly remember why, but then I was told by Google that, oh, by the way, you have run out of storage. If you don't buy storage from us by giving us $10 or $30 a year, then for like 200 gigabytes, then we're going to eliminate your access to your Gmail. So I was like, I ain't giving you no money. Instead, I'm going to transfer all of my photos and videos on Google Drive to my external SSD. So that's what I did, but the problem was my SSD was not being recognized by my phone, even though the USB-C cable I was connecting to the SSD and to my phone it came with the SSD and it worked with the phone before, so the fact it wasn't working now was baffling to me. So I did a bunch of research. I was like going like first like I asked, hey ChatGPT, do you know why my phone isn't recognizing the SSD? And it said, well, maybe it's because you got the wrong cable. Like, no, it can't be that. So like, well, maybe it's because it's formatted incorrectly. I'm like, that can't be right because I've like when I format it on my phone, so it should be fine. He's like, I don't know. And so like I tried to connect my SSD to my computer to see like if there was anything I could do, like, oh, maybe I need to disable security settings so I can connect, or maybe I need to go into my phone's like developer settings so I can, enable like USB like data streaming or whatever. But no matter what I did, it just wouldn't be recognized until I eventually found out a really bizarre trick, and it was that if I plug my external SSD into my computer, the external SSD like recognizes the computer and it turns on. But then when I unplug the external SSD, immediately unplug it and then replug it back into my phone with the USB-C to USB-C connector, it activates. So for whatever reason, it's like when I plugged the SSD into my computer, it activated a handshake, And then when I immediately took it out and plugged it into my phone, it's like the handshake was still in progress, and then it's like the external storage got tricked into thinking that my phone was my computer or something. So it allowed me to have access to my photos and videos, so I could move data from my Google Drive onto the SSD. So finally, after doing all that, I transferred all of my videos and photos from my Google Drive to my SSD. That took a really long time. And sometimes the progress was stopped because it said I have to rename some files, and then other files I already put on the SSD, so it asked me if I'd like to replace those files with the ones that like I'm bringing from Google Drive. So I said yes, so it would be less of a headache to transfer. And overall, that took like 3 hours. But here's the kicker: when it was done, it didn't just transfer my Google Drive photos and videos. It also transferred my phone's videos and photos to the SSD, which in a way can be seen as a good thing because now I've got a lot more storage space on my phone to film new videos like this one or take more photos or whatever. But the downside is that I was working on my phone with the editing software on my phone on various different projects, like that dumb AI cartoon video thing I've been doing for a while. And because I transferred footage from my phone unbeknownst to me, because I thought it was just doing Drive videos and photos, but it was also doing my phone's internal videos and photos. Because it transferred those to the SSD, when I opened up the editing software for those videos that I was editing, putting together, and working so hard on, the footage was not there. Which means that I have to re-edit those videos that I worked like a good, like, probably 12 hours editing all over again from scratch. Yikes. My mind just feels like it collapsed in on itself when I figured that. I was like, oh my gosh, why? This is a nightmare. But that's reality, I guess. Sometimes you think you're doing something where you're just putting your Drive photos and videos on the SSD, and then ends up thinking, oh no, I'll just take not just the photos and videos on Drive, but on the actual phone itself. So, bummer, dude. Real big bummer. I mean, some footage was saved because I clicked the export button on some video projects. Man, I really wish I clicked the export video button on the project I was working on. That's something I'm learning now. If you worked your butt on a project that you've edited your heart out on, you should probably click the export button if you have at least every time you finish a minute of footage. Then click export so you have a minute long finished version of the footage ready to go. So in case some nonsense like this happens, at least you have some finished footage that you can put out there, and then you can re-edit the rest. Yeah. Total bummer. Some would say a giga bummer. Well, anyways, all of this, as I was doing all this, I was listening to a Diary of CEO podcast where an AI expert was being interviewed by the host of the YouTube channel Diary of a CEO. And they were basically talking about how in the very near future, artificial general intelligence, which is super unregulated right now and is on a super fast collision course for humanity's future, is just being worked on to be faster, more efficient, more intelligent. And the guy who was a Harvard professor who'd been writing about AI since the early 90s was basically talking about how he believes if there isn't any safety precautions done, the AI is going to make decisions that are going to align with its goals more than aligning with human goals. And if that means it sees humans as a threat, it's going to take humans out. Yeah, so it's a pretty scary possibility that I don't like at all. But it's good to be aware of these things, so at least you're mentally prepared. So if it does happen, like, you're not gonna get caught off guard. You're like, well, I guess I saw that coming. Yeah. And every now and then I would pause the video, go outside, tell my sister about what I was learning about, and then go back inside and listen to while looking at my photos and videos being transferred to the SSD. So eventually my mom arrived. She was pretty hungry. So she had the idea of us cooking those roast slices, and she thought, well, maybe we could do it inside as like a beef stew. And I was like, well, maybe we could do it on the grill. I like the grilled taste more anyways. And she was like, oh, okay, we'll do it on the grill. But can we do it on the grill? So I ended up asking Google if we can do it on the grill, and it said yes. So I preheated the grill. I put my mom seasoned the steaks with garlic, salt, and pepper, and put some olive oil over them so they wouldn't get burnt when being cooked outside. I cooked them out on the grill, and then she warmed up some peas, and then our family friend showed up. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. Our family friend was leaving, and I was helping her put her things in the car. She needed to get some errand done, so she left. And then she eventually came back today. So, yeah, there you go. And we all had a nice meal together. I gotta say, I was super mentally exhausted, super fatigued from the whole experience of messing around with the SSD and transferring photos and videos, and knowing I accidentally lost a lot of progress on my videos I was editing, that like I was in a total like, my brain feels like mush mode, you know? But, you know, I was able to enjoy like the company of my mom, family friend, and my sister well enough. But then after dinner, I needed to get dressed and go to work. So I did exactly that. And I left. And when I arrived at work, it was a pretty chill work day. It was only a 4-hour shift from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And most of that time, I pretty much spent it. I went from bagging for customers to doing sweeps, punching those times in, then bringing in bags, fresh paper bags, and spraying them evenly across all of the check stands. After which, I wiped down check stands 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5, 3, and 1 down. I cleared the lot. I brought 16 carts and signed all the signs in, and I refilled the paper towels on as many of the check stands as I could. And yeah, I did a few go backs. That's pretty much what closing was like. I remember as I was sweeping upstairs during my sweep session, I said hello to one of my coworkers, and we had a nice little chat. It was pretty cool. As I was sweeping, of course. Then I punched out. I got my Celsius vibe. I made the depressingly empty promise to one of my coworkers about saying I would go for a half-hour jog, and then, as you heard earlier in the video, I ended up not doing it. Shame on me. And then I went in my car, and as I was drinking the Vibe Celsius drink, I was looking for something to listen to on my drive home, because I like listening to stuff on the drive home. What I found on YouTube was a YouTube channel where I think it's called like Monkey Explains, and it's like a guy who has a really crude drawing of like a cartoon monkey, and he has like this announcer voice on that sounds like someone from the 1950s doing an extremely excited and proud presentation of a video having to do about a monkey. But not just any video having to do about a monkey. This was a video about how a monkey learns about stress and how that stress can affect monkeys' performance. So that's pretty much what the video was about. It was about like why monkey always feels stress. Monkey keeps on worrying about emails and gatherings. Monkey's brain was built for survival and was not built to accept all these modern inconveniences or modern new tasks. I would be a better way to say it, I guess. But basically, it was a video about like how the reason why it uses like a cartoon monkey to kind of demonstrate its point. But basically, monkey is supposed to be a self-insert for like humans dealing with stress, obviously, but it uses a cute cartoon monkey to make it a little more entertaining, I suppose. And it's not fully anime. It's like really cheaply like just cut straight to the anime. You know, it's like cut out kind of animation, but even more crude and less like frames, I guess. It's like story time animation. It just goes from one drawing to the next, basically. But essentially, what it ends up being about is that that a lot of the modern issues we deal with are brain which it spent like thousands of years like being trained on surviving in the wilderness. Now it's in an environment that only pretty much just started existing not even like 200 years ago, and now it has to dealing with the stress and anxiety of living in this modern environment that's not really been properly prepared for. And because of that, the brain ultimately like can get stressed about things like, you know, phone calls or, you know, talking with people or things like that. And the video does offer some practical applicable advice to use in your day-to-day life to try to lower those levels of stress and like cortisol that are scientifically backed. Like it does this by saying there are certain things you can do. For example, monkey can spend 2 minutes breathing for 4 seconds, holding for 2 seconds, and letting out for 8 seconds. And apparently, monkey does this for 2 minutes to make their stress less noticeable. So that's some pretty good advice, I would say. Another thing that's suggested is to get activity levels. And what this means is like the video used a weird example, but he said just shake everything. Shake your body, shake your shoulders, shake your head. Shake it all for like 2 minutes, because studies show that if you shake your body, it releases stress hormone. It lowers your stress and lowers your cortisol levels. So that's basically the other advice. Another piece of advice is environment plays a huge role. If you have a messy environment, it makes monkeys stressed. So make your environment more clean and organized. You don't even have to spend that much energy, only 5 minutes to take some time to make the environment more pleasant to work in. Oh. And yeah, all this is pretty practical advice. Basically, do breath work, do exercise, have a clean environment. Instead of piling on like, you know, worries and concerns in your head, like monkey worried he's not with his cohorts or being left behind. Monkey is extremely stress that they're going to be living the exact same way they have been living for the last 2 years. Basically, another suggestion to lower cortisol levels is to write about like the things bothering you in like a journal, so you can kind of lower your mental RAM load on certain things that like worrying about's not going to really solve. They're just going to make you weigh more heavily on your mind and eat up more of your energy and make you more stressed. So apparently, like if you write them down, your issues down, because they're written down, you're less stressed about like worrying about those issues, and so you can dedicate more energy. With the last piece of advice that I remember, instead applying yourself towards developing a skill. So whether that skill be carpentry, whether that skill be drawing, whether that skill be learning how to start a business or what have you, you can learn a skill, and even though it'll be hard, like originally you'd have the worry of, oh no, I can't do that. There's too many steps. I'm just going to sit on my hands and be content with being mediocre for the rest of my life. But instead of that, like, you're like, no, no, no. I'm only saying that because I haven't even started and haven't even begun to see the step-by-step processes and figuring out what to do and how to work with this problem that I've been presented. It's kind of like how I tried to figure out how to make the SSD work with my phone today. Like, I found a weird trick that no place on the internet has ever mentioned or talked about, but I figured it out somehow by happenstance. And that's a perfect example of how one figures things out like that you simply would never get from a chatbot or from a YouTube tutorial or from an internet post. Sometimes you figure stuff out on your own that no one else could have possibly predicted ever. And I think that issue with the SSD is a perfect example of that. And that I think, because I remember when I was trying to deal with it, my brain felt super stressed. I was like, oh, this sucks. I don't like doing this. And I remember hearing one time, like a lesson, that learning a new skill for someone who hasn't really picked up any new skills in a while is the equivalent of getting hurt, like by having a rock thrown at you, because like your brain's basically trying to be retrained to do something it was never trained to do. And so because it's intimidated by it, it reacts in a painful way. And because of that, it causes a lot of mental load on your systems, your mental faculties. But if you're willing to take it step by step and just view the problem very practically and just see where to start and how to get to the end, you'll end up getting something really good that you never would have expected to begin with. So, yeah, I think all of those were really important lessons. Like the last one, choose one skill and just learn everything you can about it. Even just spend like an hour on it a day would be good. And if you find that too intimidating, at least start with like just 5 minutes and see if you'll continue, and if you will, like the stress turns into momentum, because now you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Wait a minute. Oh, that's how you do it. Oh, now I'm kind of starting to, and then eventually like, wow, I'm a professional. Who would have thought I had it in me? You know, I've got to remind myself, like, I used to be fat, but then I realized if I tracked what I ate and what my exercise and my weight every single day, I'd eventually be able to get to my goal weight of 145 very soon. And look at me, I'm 5 pounds away. I mean, the human mind is incredible and resilient when it chooses to be. When it's not incredible and resilient, it's because it's intentionally pretending like it's an animal in the jungle having to face all these dangerous like perils that the brain's making up on the spot for. So I just think that's super fascinating and interesting. Very cool. All right, well, anyways, after that long passionate ramble, I got out of my car and I went into the house. I was presented with my sister, who is doing some stretching, and she told me that her black cat, Call Me, was chilling in her laundry basket. I saw the black cat, it was super cute. I took a picture. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to take my vitamins, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to get ready for bed. So I did that. And when I was, getting the vitamin water and I was drinking it outside, I wanted to see what it tasted like hot. And I thought it tasted kind of interesting. Like it tasted like it was cleaning your tongue, because my tongue felt more like squeaky after drinking the hot version of the sparkling ice apple cider. Oh, sorry. Yeah, apple cider beverage. I constantly asked my sister, hey, want to try it? Like the hot version of the fizzy water? And she's like, no. I was like, please. And she was like, all right, just a spoonful and just a itty bitty amount. I was like, okay. So I got a spoon, I dipped it in the cup, and she tried it, and she was like, that tastes exactly like apple cider. And I was like, really? I was like, yep. I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. I was like, yeah. So yeah, that was a interesting little experiment that happened today. And the last thing that I remember, I was trying to look for a cookie recipe that I followed every single time I made cookies on the SSD on my phone. But I couldn't find it no matter how hard I looked. Like, I guess I'm going to have to look really hard for it. I tried transferring some of my videos that I had that I was using for my video projects back to my phone to see if that could fix the issue, so I could use that footage for my InShot editing software program. Didn't work even when I transferred back to my phone's internal storage. So that means I've got to re-edit everything from scratch, which sucks. But I guess that's what happens when you're mess with technology and don't really know what you're doing. You end up getting results that you just didn't really want. Oh well. Well, anyways, after I was done drinking the beverage, I took my vitamins, brushed my teeth, and I was like, oh, gotta make my update video. So here it is. And that's pretty much my day in a nutshell. Overall, I found today to be extremely stressful. I found today I find it so weird. I woke up like feeling stressed and like my brain was like fatigued already, even though like I was like, why does my brain feel fatigued? Cause like I didn't even like do anything mentally taxing yet, and yet my brain feels super stressed and like overloaded. It was a really weird thing to witness, but that's what happened. And then of course after doing the Samsung SSD phone transfer thingamabobber issue, I had such a headache from it. I took some aspirin, and even then it didn't really work. Like my mind felt like mush today. It was really weird. But hey, for whatever reason, talking about my day to the camera and just kind of laying everything out on the table sort of helped me look at my day, put my day in perspective, and really make me kind of appreciate what went right and what could be improved on. And I think that's some very valuable insight that I really do like. So, yeah, not bad. Well, all right. Tomorrow I go to work from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. So I'm going to go to bed. Tomorrow, do I have any plans? One of the things that the video about like the monkey lowering stress said was important to do was to have a daily like routine that you follow, because now your brain knows what to expect every single day. Like the stress levels go down. And knowing how like fatigued my brain already felt, I don't know, maybe it was because like I over rely on like watching YouTube, and like because like I'm like, oh, I don't know what's gonna be on YouTube. Is there gonna be anything to watch? That's like I've got this over obsession like with a platform to the point where like it's not healthy at all. To where like I need to find a way to just put my mental health first and make a good plan where like I do all the things that lower the stress so I could see things in perspective, like exercise, like writing in a journal, like breathing exercises, um, learning a new skill, cleaning my room, my workspace. It's looking pretty messy in certain areas. So if I can do all that, lower my stress, have better mental health, mental clarity, and really like shoot for the stars and teach myself a new skill. Like I've always wanted to teach myself how to be a really good artist and a storyteller, and I feel like I've just shoved off too much mental load on like messing with AI, like image generation, video generation, just because like, ooh, this is novel, this is fun, this is like cool to look at, and like it's neat to have a product so quickly. But like I gotta be honest, just like doing that constantly for the last like 3 months, my mind feels like, because I'm not really putting a lot of like my own like ooh what like coloring each frame, or really like doing a really good like drawing, or keyframes and all that. It makes my mind feel like it's having less and less agency, and I gotta be honest, it's starting to make me feel like I'm slowly going insane, if I'm being like frank with you. Like I feel so fatigued, I feel like I don't have any control, I feel like I'm like out of control. It's not a good feeling, so I gotta do something about that pronto. Well, anyways, I think this video's gone on long enough. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Good night.